Welcome to Glass Half Full with Leslie Krongold. She shares her stories, experiences, and knowledge of living and coping with a chronic health condition. Learn about tools and resources and hear inspirational interviews that help you to live a life filled with quality and dignity. With 2 decades of support group leadership, Leslie's ready to help you make lemonade out of life's lemons. Are you ready?
Hello, and welcome to today's podcast. Last year I read a book called Cure, A Journey into the Science of Mind Over Body. It's written by a woman named Jo Marchant, who lives in London, has a PhD in genetics and microbiology, and works as a science journalist. In the book, she explores several healing modalities that are more alternative than Western medical treatment and pharmaceuticals. Each chapter is a dive into an area such as hypnotism, virtual reality, aromatherapy, or mindfulness meditation. I love the book. The author approaches these subjects skeptically and seems to walk away perhaps not a convert, but somewhat enlightened. My guest for today's podcast episode is someone she interviewed for the book. But before I introduce our conversation, I want to tell you my small world story associated with this book. For the last couple of years, each time I visited my neurologist at Stanford University, I noticed his office was opposite the Center for Integrative Medicine. I asked my doctor about the center, and he knew nothing about their work, so I went inside their offices to investigate. Apparently, most of their work is with cancer patients. I talked with the receptionist about my rare disease, how I experience chronic muscle pain, and after securing a referral from my neurologist, I could get an appointment with one of the doctors. I think there was a 3 or 4 month wait. When we finally did meet, there was a discussion about my condition and what they offer, which was mostly acupuncture. Since it takes an hour for me to get to Stanford, and there are good acupuncture clinics in my community, I declined. But the doctor did suggest I make an appointment with another doctor at the center who's not there as regularly and specializes in hypnosis. So I did. And the wait was a few more months. Now, I know nothing about hypnosis other than what we see depicted in popular culture. I was intrigued. And as many of you probably share, I'm always open to non-invasive ways to cope with pain and discomfort. Well, the appointment was last year, and it was during the time I was reading the Cure book. And I bet you thought I was going off on a wild tangent, right? Well, it turns out that the doctor I was waiting to see, Daniel Spiegel, he's in the book. And he's a world-renowned expert on hypnosis. I didn't know that. I had the appointment, and I was reading the chapter just about a week before the appointment, and I, discovered that. So I was really psyched. But, unfortunately, when I met with him, we went through these little tests and everything, and it just so happens I'm part of the, about 10% of people that can't be hypnotized. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Anyhow, now back to this podcast episode. Gareth Walker lives in northern England and has multiple sclerosis. Jo Marchant, the book's author, contacted the Multiple Sclerosis Society in England and asked if they knew of anyone practicing meditation, and they all knew of Gareth. And now you will too. when were you diagnosed with MS and how did that happen?
I was diagnosed about 8 years ago now. It happened, I got blurry vision in my left eye. So obviously went to the doctors and several tests were done. At first they thought it was conjunctivitis, but the drops they gave me didn't clear it up. The opticians couldn't find anything wrong. So eventually I went for an MRI scan, which is when the bomb went off, really. I was told by a neurologist that there was damage to my optic nerve, and that could be a precursor to MS. It may not be. Go away and live your life and hope that you don't have MS. But unfortunately, I do. And about 6 years ago, the symptoms started to accumulate, and they've been going on since then. And it's pretty certain now that I have progressive MS, and I don't really have relapses. The condition just keeps getting worse to the point where I'm in a wheelchair now.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So, and you're able to still work, but in a different capacity. You're a police officer?
That's correct. I'm a police officer. Luckily, it's a big organisation I work for, and a desk job has been found. I'm still doing kind of detective work and still researching things, but it's all computer based now.
Mm-hmm. So what were some of the first ways that you tried to mitigate or alleviate symptoms? Did you try certain drugs that were helpful?
I kind of got myself in a bit of a depression's not the right word, but I was in a bit of a fug, and I was really down about the diagnosis. And I remember my mum gave me a book. The book wasn't really relevant. It was kind of a self-help book, and it just kind of got me thinking, come on, this is life. This is what's happened to you, and you've got to start doing something about it. And I went away and did research and things like that, and eventually I came across a website from an Australian doctor who'd got MS, and he recommended a series of lifestyle changes to give yourself the best possible chance with the disease. The lifestyle changes were diet, exercise, and one of the aspects of the regime was meditation. But I had no clue what meditation was about. So somebody gave me a recommendation somewhere for a book. The book is called Wherever You Go, There You Are by Jon Kabat-Zinn.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked up this book, and it just so happens that Jon Kabat-Zinn is the pioneer of secular mindfulness in the West. I think he's a Buddhist, and he'd studied it from a Buddhist view,
Mm-hmm.
but realised that there was a lot in this that could be brought to people in the West. So he stripped the religion out of it and started teaching mindfulness classes, mindfulness-based stress reduction. This book rang very true with me, and I started meditating, and that was where it all started.
Meditation it's so many things, and often people are confused between, well, what is mindfulness and what is meditation, and they try and they feel like they're not doing it right. Did you go through that sort of struggle at the beginning?
Yeah, I think everybody who starts meditating does. What happens if I get an itch while I'm meditating? What am I supposed to do? I'm a bad meditator, and I can't keep my mind still for a second. Everybody has these kind of thoughts, but eventually, over time, the benefits start to bed in, and mindfulness itself, it's become kind of a way of life. Meditation it just brings about more mindfulness. You can do mindfulness. The person walking down the street can do mindfulness. We can all do mindfulness. If you're sat at the beach and there's a particularly beautiful sunset, you're going to be looking at the sunset. You're being mindful right there. But the problem is sustaining mindfulness. Do you drive, Leslie?
I do. Not very often, but I do.
I don't know if you've ever been on a journey and you pull onto your drive and then you think, I don't remember anything about that journey at all.
Right, right.
And that's because your mind was elsewhere. You are on autopilot thinking about the argument you had with your partner the day before.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're thinking about the meeting next week that you're really worried about. And the mind is such a restless, tumultuous place. It's always wanting to go here, there, and everywhere. And it's easy to get sucked into the stories that it generates. But meditation helps you see the mind for what it is, and helps you bring yourself back from these storylines, and the effect is life-changing.
So I understand you started with a 5-minute daily practice. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So did you create a place, an actual location at your home or your work, or were you able to take the 5 minutes in any sort of setting?
At first, I used to try and get myself to a quiet place in the house where I wouldn't be disturbed. Now it's just anywhere and everywhere.
And do you have the ability to do it if you're in a room with other people?
Yeah. You can be mindful at any moment in your life. You in a room full of people, you just listen to the sounds around you, listen to the people that are talking to you, listen to the distractions. There was a really good meditation one day out fairly early on in my practice, and I was meditating, and my son was very, very young at the time, burst into the bedroom, and at first I started to become irritated. Oh, you've interrupted my meditation, and starting to get angry, and then I managed to pull myself back, and I thought, what? Hang on a minute. My son is the meditation. He is the moment right now. And instead of meditating on my breath, I meditated on him. and gave all my attention to him. And that was quite a revelatory meditation that day.
So, can you tell me about any of the physical and emotional changes that have taken place since you started your practice of mindfulness and meditation?
I'm not sure that there have been any physical changes. Emotionally, as human beings, we are emotional creatures, but mindfulness allows you to ride the roller coaster of emotions. I can see anger. I can see anger come in, and I just allow it to come, and I don't get sucked in by it, and allow it to come, and I allow it to go, and then I think and try and respond rather than react to the emotion. At the time, I was off work due to the MS, and I was thinking that maybe website design would be a career that I could do without the use of my legs. I'd be able to sit at a computer and do it. I was thinking about providing for my family, and what if I had to be retired from the police. And it was at a time when I was just starting to notice changes from mindfulness and starting to feel better about myself. So I just bought a domain name, Everyday Mindfulness, and just started messing around really. And I set up a Twitter feed, and right at the very beginning, I just started tweeting my daily observations of mindfulness really. And I saw that I was getting so many retweets, and the account was growing really, really quickly. And it's just come from there, really. I added a forum to the website where people can come and chat and get guidance about the practice. And the website has just kind of grown organically, really. But as it happens, mindfulness has got me in such a good place that I've been able to return to my old job.
So it has had a physical effect on you.
I'm able to deal with the physical. MS provides a lot of physical difficulties, and mindfulness allows me to navigate them much better. I remember one time at my old house. It was a Victorian house with a very steep set of stairs, and I was starting to have mobility difficulties, and getting up the stairs was getting harder and harder. At the beginning, when mindfulness was just starting to kick in, I remember a time, and I had to go upstairs, and I just noticed my mind was, oh, it's going to be so hard getting up the stairs. And I realized that's in the future. My mind's in the future there. Just take it one step at a time. And I found that it was so much easier.
Sort of that be here now. So it's like that book, Be Here Now, where you just try to be in the moment without reliving the past or fearing the future.
That is mindfulness.
Yeah, it's so hard. I mean, it is a hard thing for a lot of people, but it's always hopeful to hear stories about how people are able to sort of develop a whole new habit.
I don't think you can make somebody meditate. They have to want it for themselves, and there's a certain amount of dedication that is required at the start. You need to meditate every day, I think, and then eventually your practice begins to get off the ground and doesn't have to be so rigid. I don't advertise really that I'm into mindfulness. There's still a bit of stigma. You tell people you meditate, they think you're a kaftan wearing hippie, and I think it's becoming more and more mainstream, but I don't generally tell people, other than close friends and family. It has an effect on me at work, has an effect all through my life. You know, you're going down the corridor and your boss gives you a funny look, and in the past, boom, the mind starts going. Did he not like the report that I wrote yesterday? Is he displeased with my work? And the mind starts going. But with mindfulness, I can see those thoughts and I can pull myself back from them. You should try meditation, Leslie. It's fantastic.
Well, I have been practicing yoga for many years, so I do.
So you know Shavasana at the end?
Yes.
That is a meditation.
And I am not I don't adhere to one type of meditation. I've, explored creative visualizations. I go to a lot of different workshops. And something that I really like a lot is, they call it sound bath. It's where you're in a restorative pose like Shavasana, and there is a person playing glass bowls, or different instruments like gongs. And for me, it's very powerful in terms of being able to meditate and get to a point of pureness and oneness I feel in me. And it's also visceral. The sound does amazing things to my body. So I find it healing in that way. But it's not something I do every day.
Consistency is important, I think. There was a period in my early practice, I was quite lackadaisical. Some days I'd meditate, some days I wouldn't. And I was going on holiday, a 2-week holiday in Spain. And I thought, no, I don't need to meditate. I'm going on holiday. It's my holiday. So I didn't meditate for the whole 2 weeks. And then I did a meditation, I think the first day I came back. And I noticed how much more untidy my mind had become. And at that point I thought, right, I'm really going to knuckle down, do this every single day. And I did it every day, and I increased my practice a bit. And from then on, I really began to notice the benefits.
Well, it is something I aspire to. I'm always, I think it's important for me, with a chronic health condition, to try to remain open and see myself as growing and learning constantly, because sometimes things that have worked for me in the past no longer continue to work, and I have to open up to another path, another way of seeing things. So I am inspired by your journey, and I will continue to explore different ways to meditate, and I know when I'm mindful. I mean, it's quite palpable. And then I know when, I've got that monkey mind, which I don't know if we can ever totally escape completely.
No, you can never totally escape. I some days I sit and it's chaos up there. There are thoughts floating about, hitting me from every single direction. And some days I sit and it's a much calmer place.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of the mind.
And and knowing that you had that day a couple days ago that felt good, where you were able to escape the monkey mind, I hope gives the hope, continued hope, that you will have those again. You don't get mired in that downward spiral.
The only constant is change.
Right.
You don't have to meditate to breath as well. I'm a big sound freak as well. My normal method of meditation is headphones on, listening to music.
Oh, okay. So what kind of music?
It's generally ambient stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing too vigorous.
Okay, that's good to know, because sound is very powerful for me. That's helpful, because sometimes, I don't know if you're ever explored essential oils. A certain essential oil can help me deepen and relax my body and be that sort of transition into a clearer state of mind, a quieter mind. So olfactory sense helps me too.
You can meditate on smell too.
Yeah. Well, so Gareth, this has been wonderful. Did you have anything you wanted to say that I didn't ask you about? Anything to share?
Only come along to my website, have a look. www.everyday-mindfulness.org.
Thank you for listening to Glass Half Full. Leslie invites you to leave a rating and review on iTunes. This helps spread the word to others dealing with chronic health issues. For show notes, updates, and more, visit the website glasshalffull.online. glasshalffull.online.